Disclaimer, the athletes involved in the making of this production are not in any way involved in sports wagering. This is purely for educational purposes on the implications of the sports betting industry on athletes. Welcome to episode 1, everybody, of Pressure and Profit, How Betting Affects Athletes. I am your host, Katie Boff, and I am very, 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 very excited to kick off today's very first episode. On this podcast, I interviewed UGA athletes about the pressures of the growing betting world, but I do want to make this very huge disclaimer that no athlete that I interview, or me for that matter, is involved in any form of sports wagering. This is purely for educational purposes on how this growing industry is affecting the mental health of high-performing athletes on the absolutely massive stage that they are currently playing on. So today's a super special day. We've reserved this day for this particular athlete, and I'm going to introduce him, and I'm very excited. So today we are speaking with the starting punter for the University of Georgia, who is from Melbourne, or he says Melbourne, kind of, Australia. And on the side, he even has a podcast with Tate Ratledge called Mullets on the Mic. I wonder if you know who this dude is. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Brett Thorson.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Looking forward to having a chat today.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about sports betting and, as I said, as I just told you, how it relates to athletes, which we'll get into all of that. But first, I want to go over some of your highlights, Brett. So you were named second team All-American and Ray Guy Award finalist. Some of your career highlights include a long punt of 75 yards in the game against Tennessee in 2022. I was there. I don't know if I remember that, but I'm sure that happened. You totaled 1,998 punting yards this last season, with several punts landing inside the 20-yard line. Also, many of your opposing teams hardly attempted any returns from your punts, but one of my favorite highlights of your career was your tackle in the other Tennessee game in 2024, this past year. That was home in Sanford Stadium, which prevented a touchdown. So your efforts that game named you SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, and Coach Kirby Smart let you share some of your defensive skills, if you will, with the rest of the team in a video that went viral in the world of college sports. So let's watch some of that really quickly.
I'm ready to bring somebody in to help us with this. We need help, all right? I think we have the footage here. As you can see, you can see the lead block come out the front here. This was deliberate to take out the best defensive threat we have. So once I get to him, I hit him with a little shake and bake, and we now have a one-on-one with the two best athletes on the field. Remember the three things: be tough, be fast, and be tough.
How did they ask you to do this?
So, I've never actually talked to anyone about it, funny enough. I don't know what I'm actually allowed to say, but it was the morning of. I got called into an office, and they were like, hey, like, Coach Smart has an idea, and, like, he wants you to speak to the team. And he already had the game plan laid out, that the lights were going to go out. He was going to say there was technical difficulties and we needed to fix it. But then all the lights come on and I walk down. So like, you up for it? And I was like, I don't know, like this could backfire majorly. But after thinking about it, I was like, screw it, I'll do it. And then I went home and wrote the speech myself. They just said, like, the floor's yours, come up with whatever you want.
Wait, that's so funny. So who was in there? Like
the whole team.
Team was in there?
The whole team was in there. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
The speech, I think, actually lasted for about 3 to 4 minutes. Then they cropped it into about 1.5 minutes. So there was some stuff cut from it, which is good. But no, obviously everyone saw the light side of it, which was good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, he told me, he's like, we're going to put it on like Instagram, like get it out there, try and get it to some people and like get them to post it.
And I was like, oh, no way. It like kind of makes it outside of maybe we post on Instagram, but then it started getting out there. It went back to Australia as well. Like it was on Australia's like ESPN stuff like that, and I was like, oh crap! Like now everyone's seen it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I think Australia, something like ESPN Oz or New Zealand, like put it up on their Instagram. Someone else, some big accounts put it on the Instagram.
How did you feel about that?
It was cool. It was just like, oh crap! Like something that was just a bit of a funny joke for the team made it all the way into.
Yeah.
I guess anything you do, you don't really realize the
Right.
potential for it. So it was funny. It was a good laugh. I think they wanted me to do part 2 on crutches, but I don't think we've got there yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wait. Can you describe where you were at with this tackle, like what it was like in the moment?
In the moment, unfortunately, well, we had ended it. So I think we'd gone 26 or 27 games without punt return. And every team we were playing against was trying to have a punt return. And the game before, they had a 2-yard, 3-yard punt return. So it ended. The streak of like positive return yards had ended, but the guy we were going up against is a punt returner. Boo Carter is his name. We knew he was. He's pretty aggressive as a punt returner. So we knew he was going to try something. Obviously, we go out, we punt. My first punt, he fair caught. Second, and then we had this one. And I thought it was a solid punt. I was like, perfect. And we had people down there. And it happened so quick. Like, you look back and, I don't know, it feels like when you watch it, it takes a bit of time. But live, it happened so quick. And
Right.
we had people around there. And I think for 1 second, I was like, oh, we got everyone around him. And then all of a sudden, he was out. And he was moving.
Yeah.
Like, he come out of the, like, I couldn't see him for a minute, like 1 second, and he come out, he was hot. And I was like, oh, shit. So, obviously, my thought process was, oh, my people are on the right side. I need to go to the left side here. And he had a lead block come out. And I was pretty much just thinking, go to the left of this lead block so that it's not just like a whole clear path down the right side if he goes inside for it. So I just wanted to beat the guy outside. I got around him, and he was still going out to his right, my left. I was like, okay, well, just make sure he doesn't go left. So I guess it turned into a foot race of who was trying to beat each other to the outside, and thankfully never cut back inside. And I guess it just got, once we got close enough, then it just turned into Australian football, which we have to do. Like, in a game of football, you see that sort of thing like 50 times a game. It's nothing different. So once we got there, that was the like actual, I guess, familiar part of it. Just tackling someone. The running part was where there had to be a little bit of thought process go into it.
Yeah.
And it just coincidentally ended up there.
Right afterwards, when you, like, what was the reaction from the team, like, right after, immediately? Like, what were people saying to you?
I don't know. I think everyone just, like, from what it seems, punters don't tackle, apparently. So everyone, I guess, was like, damn, like, good tackle. That, like, saved a touchdown, stuff like that. I guess everyone was just surprised that, like, a punter actually tackled someone. So
was it
that
fun?
was just it. Everyone was like, damn, like, you actually, like, laid a tackle. Like, good tackle. They were like, it was a good tackle as well. It wasn't just, like, a tackle. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I was still kind of upset. There was a return on a punt. But after the game, I think it started to be talked about, and a few people started to bring up the actual influence it had on a game. So I was pretty happy that it helped, because I think after that we went on a pretty good run. We got the ball rolling. So,
yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds like it was a good time, and that's crazy that it was blown up to Australia. I bet your friends were probably like, hey, you're crazy.
More people have talked to me about that punt and about the tackle and any punt. And
how do you feel about that?
I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like, getting SEC, like, special teams player of the week as well.
Like, for that?
For a tackle. I was like, wait a minute. Like, this is what it took, like a tackle. But Mum and Dad were here as well, so I think they got a lot of attention for it, and they thought that was pretty funny. They were just surprised I was running for once. So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Hey, love that. Okay, so now I kind of want to go ahead and get into what we are really here to talk about. But before we do that, I'm going to give kind of some context, background information for the listeners on the history of sports betting in the United States, and then specifically where we're at with Georgia. So to get into it, gambling has been around for centuries. It first came to the U.S. in the form of horse racing, dating back before the Revolutionary War. Then New Orleans kind of became like the hub of gambling because they had these riverboat casinos, which is pretty fun. But then in the early 20th century, gambling was almost completely outlawed in even Nevada, which Vegas had a period of time with a complete gambling ban. But then in 1931, Nevada, after suffering a lot economically, they decided to legalize gambling entirely. And then more importantly, in 1949, Nevada legalized sports betting on professional sports and horse racing. So then later on in 1992, Congress passed the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, which is pretty famous today, restricting all but a few states from legalizing sports betting. But recently, as of like 7 years ago, in 2018, this act was overturned, leaving each state to make its own laws about sports gambling. Okay, so where is Georgia now? Basically, sports betting is illegal in the state of Georgia as of right now. But we have 3 states that we border where it is legal: Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina. And there have been multiple bills that have attempted to be passed within the last few years to legalize betting or sports betting in Georgia. But this year, Senate Resolution 131 is in the works to do this sort of thing. It needs to be passed with a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate to be approved. But then if that happens, the actual final say on legalization will go to state voters. But the big talk as to why it should be legalized is that Georgia's missing out on all this revenue opportunity. Like, it's all economic is what a lot of this talk is. Okay, so there's this talk about like the economic aspect of all of this and how if we legalize betting here, that Georgia will just boost economically, money-wise, and how it's already happening anyways. People really love to do it. It's illegal right now. Like, we could curb the illegal activity if we just go ahead and legalize it. And also from my observations at literally any sporting event that I attend, I feel like I always am hearing about sports betting. Like, that's like why so many people watch sports, right? I don't know. That's what I've, at least in my perspective, have picked up on. But with all this talk, like, there's the stakeholder of the people who are betting, but then also like the government and where they can gain, like how they can gain from this, where actual bettors can gain from this. But like the actual object of the betting is kind of like not in the question, which is the athletes. So we neglect the athlete's perspective, at least as of right now, which is so interesting because it's like kind of not like it's like we're using athletes as like not human. Like, you know what I mean? Even though it's a group of humans or
yes. Alienating.
Right. Dehumanizing, potentially. But I know that y'all don't want to hear what I think. We want to hear what Brett thinks about this. So I am curious what the general talk amongst the players is about sports betting. Like, what are people saying about it?
I guess, the funny thing is how easy it is to gamble in other states. Like, I go down to Florida a fair bit, and they talk about Hard Rock, stuff like that, and you see it. Like, I see my friends that have no knowledge of sports ever gambling or having the apps on their phone and like going through odds and stuff like that, I was like, wait a minute, that's interesting that it's just this accessible. And then you come back here and obviously we can't do it. As far as the team members go, that's probably a hard one in the sense that we're not allowed to do it really for, I would say, 95% of sports. Whether it be the rule set for us, any sport sponsored by the NCAA, whether being in America or in China, in Australia, wherever it is, we can't gamble on it. So I can't gamble on the Australian basketball, even though I don't know a single player. But it's sponsored by the NCAA, the sport. So it really, like, I guess it doesn't affect the playing group, regardless of if it's legal in the state or not. We still can't do it, ever.
Right. How aware are you and your teammates of the betting markets and, like, particularly prop bets maybe for y'all individually? Which, let me go ahead and define prop bets really quickly. Prop bets, proposition bets, are any bet that is not directly associated with the outcome of the game. And this is most common in, like, individual player performances. So, yeah, how aware are y'all of, like,
I think for sure, because sometimes your friends just being your friends, and I've seen it. Thankfully, there's not really any punter prop bets. No one really bets on a punter, I don't think, from what I know. But I have other friends in other positions where there are prop bets major, whether it be like the wide receiver receiving line or the rushing back line, or we're very close with the kickers. They have their field goal lines or points lines, stuff like that. So sometimes I've seen it where their friends, just being their friends, send them the prop bet to be like, you're my boy, like, you're definitely doing this, stuff like that. And obviously without knowing it, then all of a sudden there's a new aspect of pressure to them that adds on, because like their friend just thinks they're being their friend, they're encouraging them, but all of a sudden you're like, wait, you then know your line, or you know what people are predicting, stuff like that. So without even meaning it, you come across your lines and stuff. You don't go out and look for it. No one's going out and searching themselves, but you'll see it. People will talk about the margins, for example, of winning. Like, you watch a show, it'll come on the TV while you're watching like the NFL or something. They'll be like, oh, Georgia is at such and such points. Like, Georgia is this amount of favorite. It's usually what the first thing they say, and you're like, oh, okay, so we're meant to win by 23 points this week. Like,
right.
And then even just mindset of like, oh, these guys mustn't be any good if that's the line. So you got to try and do your best to remove as much of it as you can. But yeah, just it's a hard one to avoid. You would almost have to kind of just turn off all TVs and lose all contact with people.
Yeah.
If you were trying to avoid not seeing gambling lines.
So people are like sending it to y'all sometimes.
Yeah, some friends will be like, oh, they might say, they'll be like, oh yeah, not to me, I've heard it in examples where they'll say like, oh yeah, your line is this, I'm definitely going with that. Or they'll be like, my friend sent me your line, and stuff like that. So they might not even be, your friend might not be the one doing it, but their friend knows you're friends with whoever, and they're sending it in and being like, oh, hey, like, let's go. Like,
yeah.
So.
Do y'all ever, I'm assuming that it never, like in like an actual, like team setting with coaches and stuff, like that never really gets talked about probably, right? Or does it? No,
that will never come up, especially on the sense that Vegas, whoever it is that sets the line, they don't know the game plan for the week. They don't know. No player ever says, walks up to their coach and says, coach, like, my reception line is 7.5 this week. Like, throw me the ball. Like, my boys have got a bag on it. No one's ever going to do that. So I guess it's a funny one in the sense that the players get gambled on, but who knows what the game plan is for the week. It's obviously out of the player control. That might be, I don't know, someone else might be getting the targets and their job might be something else. It might be blocking, whatever. But then all of a sudden their reception line, they don't get close to. And then there's the backfire on them. And it usually comes, I would say, in the form of like Instagram DMs and stuff like that. But no coach has ever got into a meeting and said, we need to win by this amount because this is the line.
Right.
They say that doesn't, usually the only time will come up when they say it doesn't matter. This game isn't about favorites, not favorites, this line, that line. He's like, this is going to be a hard physical game.
Right.
Like they don't have, I think Georgia Tech is a perfect example of that. I think Coach Smart said, come in and he's like, look, like they have us to win by X amount of points. He's like, that's bullshit. Like these guys are rivals. I don't know if they've ever looked up history and rival games, but it's a lot more tougher than what anyone ever gives it credit for.
Right. How do you feel about people placing like just millions of dollars in bets on an athlete to perform a certain way? What do you think about those people?
I guess it's someone's money. They can do whatever they want. I think the pressure, hopefully an athlete doesn't know that, the pressure that would come with that, obviously to start with, your goal is to help the team and like your goal is to win. Regardless of result, you want to win. And then if that is added on, if you have a bad game, you're probably upset already. You've upset the fans. Just the regular fans, you probably feel like you've upset your family, but then all of a sudden someone's let you know that you've lost them millions of dollars. That's probably not a really good guilt. And it's not like anyone did it deliberately. No one goes out there and says, I'm not going to run the ball far today, or I'm not going to catch this pass just because I don't want to. So, yeah, it's definitely a guilt that shouldn't be added onto an athlete's plate when they already have a lot. I think we averaged 8 million viewers last year. If you think about that in the sense of just fans crossed with people probably gambling on the game that have investment in it, then there's a lot of people watching that you feel the pressure of.
Right. Okay, so there's this article from the NCAA by Sequandra Heath titled Sports Betting Culture Negatively Impacts Mental Health. NCAA works to support student athletes. Okay, and then in this article, the NCAA believes that bets placed on individual college athletes' performances, prop bets, should be eliminated. What do you think?
Yes, I can definitely see the support for that. I think obviously in Georgia, it's not like any of us could have an app and see the lines. You would have to go out. But if you did know that pressure, as I said just then, they're under enough pressure enough. I think that would be good in the sense that hopefully it's not necessarily the pressure before the game. I think it's I'm not even going to try and say it. I'm going to say it wrong. Pretty much not the punishment, but the actions after the game. Implications. The implications after the game. Right. It is usually the worst side of it, whether it be the messages, the social media slander, stuff like that. A lot of people, I guess, feel they need to, I don't know if it helps them sleep, helps them take out their anger on money they've lost or just opinions they have, but some of the DMs I've seen sent to friends of mine and stuff like that definitely shouldn't be in, and hopefully a lot of that could be removed if there weren't individual props, because they probably get it from fans enough anyway. Fans are upset if there's a loss or we didn't win by a certain amount of points, or they just think something should have been done better.
Right.
Everyone's their own couch coach. And everyone has their own opinion. So I think it would definitely help if individual props were taken out, because again, people just, you see it in all sports. Some of the messages that come out after
what can we, like, without saying maybe who this has gone to, but like, can you think of any of like what the messages say? Or like something that you remember?
There's some in sports that I've seen, other sports that get published when issues happen, people like athletes in the past. I haven't seen it in America. It was in Australia, actually. They will go out and post it and be like, all right, guys, this doesn't really need to be done. But some of the messages I have seen come through, you can cut it or choose it if you want, but a certain player's like home location was sent to them.
Oh.
And stuff like that.
Wait, that's not good.
Yeah, so that happened, but yeah, usually like it's just like I've seen racism, like a lot of racism comes out in it when people are that upset, whether they've lost a bunch of money. But yeah, and then like there's fans and then there's the gamblers. But
do you see more of the like? Can you tell the difference? Okay. Do you see more of like the fan upset DMs or like more of the gambling?
I think I've seen both in the sense that we're lucky enough that we win a majority of our games. Right. So fans are hopefully, although Georgia fans are very hard to impress sometimes, but hopefully happy or it didn't really indicate the game too much. Mm-hmm. But then again, someone might have had a gamble on it, so the win all of a sudden isn't good because they lost X amount of money because a player didn't do such and such. So I would say there's a good mix of both. A pretty even split, and it just depends on the game. If someone has lost money and we've lost the game because of it, then it only gets worse. Then they're like, I don't know, doubles what they want to say. So
right. So do you think that a lot of these so like being an athlete at this level, you know that you're going to get hate. Like this isn't a surprising thing. We don't need to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people are hating on me. Like that's just the nature of like the position that y'all are in. But when it comes to like threats, like do you think people are getting threats?
Yes.
Like obviously the home location that you said before, like that's a threat in and of itself. Yeah. But like what else? Like are you saying that?
I know, like it's just like you better effing do this or you better, and for me, like thankfully the specialist world and where my closer friends are around college football is not too highly an area gambled on and not too highly I would say recognized or with attention. I could only imagine for what the high-end wide receivers, running backs, that everyone knows, everyone gambles on. Like every week, for example, there would have been a Trevor Etienne gambling line last year. So I haven't seen Trevor's phone or I don't know how he went in those lines, but I could only imagine it kind of gets worse for those people that get put in the spotlight. I am very close with a lot of kickers, so their job indicates points. A lot of gambling goes through with points. So even in that sense, taking out the individual prop of, let's say, Peyton Woodring had 2.5 field goals to make this game, but he may, like let's say he went 3 or 4, he made that, but let's say we went 1 point under the line and all these people had us to cover the line, then he's still going to get threats, even though like he did really good. Like,
does he ever talk about that?
Not really. I would say we all do a good job of avoiding it. It's again, as you said, you know what you're going to get. You can never impress everyone. I think that's something that I accepted very early, is everyone's going to have a different opinion. And thankfully, dog fans have been very good to a bunch of us, which we appreciate. But again, you just never know what someone's lost, who someone has gambled on, or even, again, we play in some good primetime TV spots, so some gambles will come through from people that aren't even Georgia fans, and then all of a sudden they're mad as well. So, I would say
get high.
Yeah, it's probably a good balance of knowing you're going to get hate and just not looking for it.
Right.
If you look for it, you'll probably find it.
Definitely. Okay, so I'm going to read a little snippet from this article that I was talking about. Basically, right after North Carolina legalized sports betting, like only 12 days after they legalized sports betting, UNC basketball player Armando Bacot reported that he received abusive direct messages about his performance, literally only like 12 days after it was legalized. In the article, he said, quote, "It's terrible. Even at the last game, I guess I didn't get enough rebounds or something. I thought I played pretty good last game, but I looked at my DMs and I got like over 100 messages from people telling me I sucked and stuff like that because I didn't get enough rebounds." End quote. Which, like, now what makes me think, I think in that situation, like, now it's not just about the fans who care about or even people who care, like, specifically about, like, his performance, like, his well-being. It's, like, his performance for the sake of, like, money, you know? And that's crazy, I guess. But my question to you is, to the people who send these abusive messages and threatening things, what would you tell them?
I don't know. You probably know people are going to do what they want to do. I've always thought of it as no one's doing it deliberately. No one ever deliberately says, I'm not going to perform, or I'm not going to catch this ball, throw this pass, whatever it is, like, get a rebound. And again, with that, as that article says, he thought he played good. But then all of a sudden, he goes into his Instagram messages. And there's 100 requests to say that you suck and whatnot, who knows what else. He's just a human. Every one of us is just a human. I would say, you, like with your point earlier about the objectifying it, what was it?
Dehumanizing?
Yeah, dehumanizing. I guess, yeah, if it turns... I've become hopefully desensitized to it, in the sense that
right.
I wouldn't let a bad message, a good message, sway either way. But it's probably, like, I don't know if it helps them sleep better at night. I don't know what it does.
Right.
Like, the message, but I feel like you can't say anything.
Mm-hmm. What would you say to younger athletes? Like, what kind of encouragement would you give them, I guess?
I'd say it's hard because everything affects people differently. You kind of got to learn that the hard way. But I would say just don't look into it. Don't actively look for it. That's probably the issue. You want to go in and you want to... A lot of people, they want to search their name on Twitter. It's like, oh, what are people saying? Like, a lot of people probably hope it's good, probably hope it's bad. Who knows what it is? But we see it, like one of our friends has a bad game and we'll be like, oh, crap, what's everyone saying? Mm. So it's just so easily accessible. I would say don't access it. Who cares? Like, just do you and results. But that would probably be it. You can never impress everyone.
Right.
And that might be it. You can never impress everyone, but...
Good advice.
What about you? What would you say?
What would I say? I would say that you need to have self-control and not look yourself up on social media. And just, like, have, you know, horses wear those, like, blinders.
Yeah.
That's what I would say if I personally were in that situation.
Can you get cheerleading bets? The cheerleading props?
You know, I don't think so. Maybe, I'm certain that there probably are for, like, college competition, just in a very niche platform or a very niche sports book. I'm not sure. Like, if you go on FanDuel, I don't know if I see that happening. I also haven't really looked for that, so I don't know. That's a good question. I need to look at that. But you can bet on literally anything.
Yeah.
You can literally bet on anything.
One of the biggest bets on the Super Bowl was the color of the...
It's the
Gatorade
every single
shower.
year.
Yeah.
Or like the coin toss.
Yeah, the coin toss, yeah.
Yeah, that's those sort of things are... Or like how long the national anthem is. Over or under 2 minutes. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, you can literally bet on anything, so...
Yeah.
Probably. But the thing is, like, there's I don't know if there's for cheer. It's not. I don't know. It's not like we're doing. There, it would be hard to do like a player prop on a
how many flips you
cheerleader,
do.
right? It would, that'd be interesting. Okay, so we're kind of switching gears a little bit. This might be. I'm interested to see what you think. I'm restating the disclaimer. Nobody involved in the making of this nobody involved in the making of this participates in sports wagering. Yes. Okay. Do you think, though, that it could be likely that players would bet on themselves?
Like right now, or if it was legal, would they bet on themselves?
Either one. Like, I mean, the thing is, so the whole argument of like why they should legalize it is because people are already doing it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
yes, people are already betting.
Yeah, if they're gonna do it, they can.
Yeah. So do you think that people would bet on themselves?
That's a hard one. I personally could never see that. Who knows? Like some people might think, perfect. Like I'm gonna back myself. You probably have that sense of confidence anyway, whether you want to put money on the line. I don't think maybe individual. Maybe they might think their team's looking good for the week, which technically bets on themselves. I think I remember an Australian footballer that bet on himself to kick a goal and their team to win. But it wasn't a big bet. It was only like $10 or $20, and he got suspended for half a year or something like that.
How did people know about that?
I got found out eventually. They have all the we've been educated on it as well, all the software that they have to detect who's placing the bets, where the bets are being placed, like who the bets are on. So I guess you would be an idiot to think you could get away with it after knowing, like we've been educated on it. Obviously it's illegal. So I don't know. That's a hard one. I personally could never go on and bet on myself. But who knows? Some people might help them. It might, yeah.
Yeah. Do you, do you think there's any like, I don't know if I want to get into this.
You can ask, I think.
But like, do you think athletes feel, are any athletes ever being like reached out to like manipulate?
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I know, like, yeah, like point shaving or whatever it is, yeah. No, not from what I've heard. Again, that's something I've seen in the media. I think again, people have been caught doing it in other sports around the world. I've seen, I think there was a big cricket one with Australia 20 years ago, where the bookies will say, hey, do this. I've never seen anyone get messages or stuff like that. I don't think anyone would do that because the consequences are so great. But it has been done in the past, so.
Are y'all educated, like, were you saying that y'all were educated back in Australia or here?
No, here. We had...
y'all have like a whole...
We had people like come in and speak, organised through the team to come in and speak and say like, look, this is what happens. This is why you shouldn't do it.
Right.
It's pretty high-tech stuff they have. They have a pretty advanced setup. But yeah, it goes as far as the geolocation of a gamble. As soon as you place like that bet, it like pinpoints the location. So if it raises red flags on the location, it'll like set off their alarms, and then all of a sudden they're diving into this gamble, this bet. Names, they have a whole like somehow cross-checker of names, if any names come in. All that, but yeah, like a story. If we gambled, for example, if there was a gamble from the Georgia football facility or the basketball facility, it would probably raise a few red flags, and then they'd be like, all right, what was the gamble? Who placed it? Stuff like that. So, yeah, it's not... You'd be pretty dumb to try and trick it.
Right. Well, that is good. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay, I am going to show you some things before we end today. Literally just doing quick searches on Twitter. This isn't about you, but like I just want to see reaction to this. I have like screenshots of all this stuff. Okay. Like last time I looked this up, I literally just looked on Twitter and I looked up sold my parlay. Like that's all I looked up. Sold my parlay.
Okay.
I'm just going to read some of these tweets. You ruined my life, man. I had you in the parlay and you sold 50%, man. Okay. We've got every single NBA player that sold my parlay gonna have to see me. F you, Maya Joint. Don't know who the F you are, but you sold my parlay. Like...
Yeah, don't know who you are,
like who,
but I'm gambling.
Why'd you... Right. Like, what? Yeah, so there's that. Then we can look at like one of the most recent prop bets that didn't hit recently that I was like, whoa, I know this is about to be crazy on social media was the Super Bowl. Saquon didn't get an anytime touchdown. Which like
okay, yeah.
The line for that was like minus, like it was just the value was so low that everybody was certain that he would have a touchdown. I'm just gonna read some of these. Saquon, the guy that sold everyone's parlay. Let's see. This was a TikTok. Saquon Barkley, when I catch you, you sold my parlay and I'm pretty sure half the world. I'll never forgive him. He blew 4 of my parlays. Half the country knowing that Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown ain't gonna cash tonight. It's like a video of John Cena or whatever. They need to investigate that. That was one of the things because people are like, there's no way that he didn't have a touchdown. Let's see. This one. Oh, he's not worthy of owning the rushing record. Okay. Now this one you might take personal offense to. It says, hope he blows out a knee. See if he's laughing then. Okay. What do you think of this?
I mean, probably again a bit desensitized to it because you see it like weekly. You see like, I don't know, people getting messaged to go kill themselves, stuff like that, just over gambling or even not gambling, just performance and stuff like that. So it is like, I'm sure Saquon's probably better at dealing with it than anyone. He's probably not going to lose a wink of sleep to... He just won a Super Bowl. I'm sure he's sleeping pretty good right now. He makes millions of dollars a year. He's got a good family and whatnot. But again, just like you never know who the message is going to as well. Like if someone is so upset that that's what helps them feel better, but who knows? Like let's say there's someone like mental health is a big thing in sport for like a number of reasons. If they're saying that about someone who's maybe struggling or going through it, already down, just anyone else. Where like the one you said about, I don't know who you are, but you like messed up my parlay.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, well, why are you betting on something you have no idea the person of? So I don't know. It's not needed. Like none of those things accomplished anything. Mm-hmm. I guess I just see it as like part of the game, part of the
right
thing.
Doesn't that suck? But it's like, I mean, if it's part of the game, then that's what it is. But
well, yeah, I probably look at it a bit. I find that stuff funny now. I probably never see the serious side in it.
Right.
Where I'm lucky to have that mindset that it's going to happen. So you just think, like, you kind of get a laugh out of it. You're like, wait, you for real? Like, I'm sure if they actually saw the person, all the people that throwing out that threat, like, they would do nothing. They'd probably ask for a photo or an autograph. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I probably just see the funnier side in it. But yeah, it does cross the line, like locations and threats and stuff. I can only imagine the stuff in his DMs. Because that's where the really personal stuff gets sent. Because they don't want to link to them. They just want to be like, oh, look at me, I'm angry on Twitter. But then in Instagram DMs, I think it gets it's pretty personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to wrap up, what do you think that the NCAA can do to better protect y'all's mental health, or separately to protect against harassment? What do you think can be done?
I would say, yeah, they obviously put efforts in right now. They have the resources there to find it. The education side of things is always good to know, because everyone handles that stuff differently, especially I'm a senior now. I've seen it for 4 years. A freshman coming in that's 18, there were no prop bets on their high schools, and then all of a sudden they're playing in front of 60, 70, 80,000 people. So I think getting a hold of those guys early would be a big thing, and making sure they're aware of potential stuff, what's going in, how to avoid it, how to handle with it. I'd say that's definitely a big thing. And again, as you said, probably removing prop bets may help with that on the individual market. No one ever, you wouldn't make it one way to say under, because if they go over, they've done good. But I would say if prop bets were removed from NCAA sports, even professional sports, they're still humans in it. They're just paid a bit more money and a bit more higher levels. So I would say that could be a big thing in ensuring whether that could be done. I don't know how the rules go into that, but yeah, I'd just say educating early and making sure it's clear on the resources that are available. Because that.
Hey, and you can be lifting up your teammates, encouraging them, because you've seen it. You've seen it all. It would appear. So that would be, I'm interested to see. Maybe you'll be thinking about this next year and you'll be like, this was that crazy thing. I'm going to send this to Katie and be like, wow, I can't believe that someone said this one really crazy thing. But thank you so much for sharing all of your insight on this. Let's if the world could just not make athletes to be an object of just economic proposition, that'd be wonderful. But this has been literally an issue for years and years and years and years and years. It's part of the culture of it, which sucks. But I think that talking about it, helps comfort people who maybe feel like they're the only ones who are receiving this hate or XYZ thing. You know what I mean? But yeah. Any last words for the listeners?
No, I think you did very well there. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to tuning in to following episodes and seeing you work.
Thanks. All right. Later.